The Boston Bruins lose 8-2 to the now 7-2-0 Carolina Hurricanes. The Bruins got outshot 37-15, out-hit the Hurricanes 32-12, but as Andy Brickley said on the broadcast, looked like they were playing in quicksand. Not one player played better or worse than the other one out there. This was a complete team collapse, and frankly, one we should have seen coming. As always, I'm going to give you the highs and lows of the game, followed by some insights, and I'm going to try and stay as positive as I can, but it's going to be hard. To buckle up, Bruins fans, I'm here to give you the latest info on your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already done so, thank you, and let's get into it. Going into this game, the Boston Bruins had won one game in their last 5, and now one in their last 6. They look like shells of their former self. During the offseason, they got bigger and supposedly better. These big bad Bruins look slow, forcing passes, underskilled, and overmatched almost every game. Last season, they had less talent on their roster and fought for first overall in their division and won a round in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Currently, they have more talent than they had last year and are sitting last in their division, and if things don't turn around before American Thanksgiving, then they won't be fighting for anything. 76.7% of all NHL teams that are in the playoff spot at American Thanksgiving make the playoffs. Not every team can be a Cinderella story, and frankly, it rarely happens. But it gives fan hopes and makes them optimistic that this year the Bruins can turn things around. They can 100% turn things around. But after watching last night's game, it kind of feels different because there are so many areas that the Bruins are not playing well in. The Bruins currently rank 25th in the league for 5-on-5 goals with 16. I guess one way to look at that stat is to say the Bruins also rank first in the league in penalty minutes with 134, which means they're not playing 5-on-5 very hockey that much. Their PK, being 20th in the league at 76%, isn't helping either. Their power play ranks 25th in the league, so that isn't helping them score goals either. So, going into the first period last night after Montgomery once again changes up the lines, which he's done often throughout his coaching career, but I wouldn't say this often, I wasn't as optimistic for the outcome. Before the game, he spoke to the media and said this.
Well, I can't say it's result-based. Like, I haven't changed lines a lot this year in games. And for me, when you change lines, it's because you have a feel behind the bench that someone's really on. You need to get them more ice time. Or, someone needs to be dropped down a line. And someone, needs to be promoted because you see a spark somewhere. There just hasn't been consistent enough spark. I jumbled the lines in the last 7 minutes of last game. I thought that we had a good 6-minute spurt there. But we started the third, and the same lines gave us vanilla, So right now we're just looking for players to take ownership of their game. And what we also want is, with splitting up that Kastelik, Beecher, and Koepke line, is we want their work habits to kind of rub off on their line mates.
When you move Elias to a new line, what's kind of your message to him? Because he's still kind of a new player in your system.
Same as it is to everyone. We need to do more. We expect more.
Do you feel that he's feeling any pressure? He comes in, he's a big signing, signs a big contract. Do you get that sense from him at all?
I don't get that sense from him. I've talked to him a couple of times. I don't get that sense.
Swaymna starting?
Swaymna is starting tonight, yeah.
Any other changes?
Jones is going to be in tonight.
When your team is struggling with consistency, one good game, one bad game, what is the message you have to drive home to them to keep them on the straight path?
Well, it's just consistency comes from doing the same thing over and over and doing it right. And, our execution with and without the puck has not been consistent, and that's why our results and the way we look on the ice is inconsistent.
Getting back to Elias for a second, what have you liked from his game through 10 here?
Who?
Elias.
Lindholm?
Yeah.
Okay, you switched on me. You went Lindholm. I just think how smart he is positionally. His willingness to dig in and win one-on-one battles. Those are the two things that jump up.
Maybe Jim is in denial. To say he doesn't change the lines often during the game was a choice. But hey, he's the coach, and they're just trying to figure things out. After the game, the players got asked the same question about the line juggling, and we'll get to their answers later in the video. I missed the start of the first period because I was trick-or-treating with my daughter, but I caught up halfway through the intermission. I thought about making this video last night, but frankly, I was tired. The first period starts with some jump, and the Carolina Hurricanes got the first 3 penalties of the period. But the Hurricanes scored on the second shot of the game. If you look at the play, the Bruins players collapse on Swaymna, leaving Roslovic wide open in the slot. He's gifted that goal from the players on the ice from bad positioning, and Swaymna has no chance, and it's 1-0. This is when the Hurricanes start their parade to the box, and the Bruins score on the power play from none other than Brad Marchand off a weird bounce. And you hope the Bruins seize this moment and take the game back. Carolina started Kochetkov because Anderson is hurt, and this season he has an .891 save percentage, so he isn't playing well. And to be honest, he didn't play well in that game. The opportunity is there, and in fact, right after the Bruins score, Carolina gets another penalty. And you would think the Bruins seize this opportunity? They don't. And the power play looks ineffective, and again, they pass it around, force plays that aren't there. The Bruins start their parade to the box, getting 3 penalties in a row, and Carolina scores 3 goals in the span of 52 seconds. 2 of them are on the power play. I'm going to show these goals, and 2 of them, unfortunately, are directly scored by Brandon Carlo. One, he tips over the shoulder to Swayman, and the other goes off a skate and in the back of the net, and both on the power play. Swayman has no chance on these tips, but you'd hope he saves one of them. And you get the feeling we're in for a very long night, but not one for Swayman. I'm not saying these goals are on him, because it's a team game out there. But you'd wish he'd stop one of them. But when watching the replay, all you see is bad positioning from the Bruins and great pressure from the Hurricanes, and it's quickly 4-1. The Hurricanes set a season record for the NHL, scoring the fastest 3 goals this year. Not a stat the Bruins want to be a part of. To say that was a bad period from the Bruins was an understatement, and it doesn't get any better. They didn't play with pace, couldn't get 3 passes in a row to connect, and never once did you think they're in this game. For a team that had so many cliche things said for them before the game, they look very bad. I know it's only game number 11, and no one wants to panic, and you truly shouldn't yet, but it's not like they were seeing glimpses of a good play during that game. I haven't seen the Bruins play this bad consecutively in years. The second period is when the wheels fall off, but the Bruins get on the board first from a shot from Hampus Lindholm in the slot after making a great move on the rush. Pasternak intercepts the pass, Costello keeping the puck in, makes the play, and boom, we get a goal. You see this and you think it's only 4-2. They can come back from this. Carolina scores 1 not long after this on the power play when Swayman makes the first save, but not one Bruin player is there to move Svechnikov from the front of the net, and he's not contested and able to push in the rebound, and it's 5-2. Less than a minute later, Lowry is having trouble moving the puck behind the net and gets the puck stripped. Carlo is not covering Roslovic in front of the net, and it's 6-2 Carolina, and that's the end of the night for Jeremy Swayman, who looked like he was in his shooting gallery tonight. I feel Montgomery took him out so he could just get him out of the game, because he's truly not his fault, but once again, you'd love a couple of them to be stopped, but also it didn't matter who was in net. Swayman had a .727 save percentage this game, which isn't acceptable at this point, and now he's playing just as bad as the rest of the team. Korpisalo was put in, and you can see the Bruins play a little bit better in front of him, because I'm sure they know they're the reason their starter got run out. The number of defensive laps from the forwards and the defense were too many to count in this game. They escaped the second period only being down 6-2, but as you know from the beginning of the video, that wouldn't be the final score. Carolina scores 2 goals in the third, but the good news is none of them were on the power play. I'm trying here. They weren't seconds apart either. Walker's goal was assisted by Peak as he bats down the puck, but unfortunately it goes directly to Walker in the slot, and it's in the back of the net, and it's 7-2. The last goal is just wow. Not one player takes the man. A bad pinch leads to a lazy effort from Beecher on the back check, and a savable shot from Kotkaniemi, who gets his first of the year, and it's 8-2 Carolina. This will be the final score of the game, and at this point, you just thank God it's over. After the game, Montgomery and the players had this to say.
Well, I look at it a little differently. We had a lot of success the last 2 years, and we were first place in the league at Thanksgiving the last 2 years. We never achieved anything we wanted to. Right now, we're not happy. Nobody's happy with what's going on, but we will get out of it, and we will be better, and hopefully it creates a better result come playoff time.
And where does that start?
It starts by sticking together and working. I mean, there's no substitute for second and third effort.
All you can do is just kind of keep working hard. I think everyone's doing that and trying their best, and I think kind of everyone needs to come together. And when the team, a lot of individuals, including myself, aren't doing well, and I think everyone just needs to worry about the team and be team first. And not saying that's the case, but the individual stuff will come and kind of all blend in together. I mean, we've done it for how many years now? There's a recipe, and we just need to get to it.
When lines are generally juggled by a coach, it's to look for a spark, but can that sometimes have a reverse effect that makes players lose confidence that they're not staying on the same line, or they're constantly getting moved?
I think we're used to it. I think that's kind of something they've done for whatever this is, 3 years now with Monty. I think that's something, so I don't think it's anything too crazy. I don't think that's the reason or anything like that. I think it just comes down to individuals and playing as a team.
Definitely move our feet, there's a lot of stick penalties, high stick, so that's one, but honestly, like the game, we just weren't good enough. 5-on-5 at all. They were all over us, and we got to be better.
There were a lot of line changes tonight, and Monty's kind of known for that and for looking for a spark. But can that have a reverse effect too, where guys kind of lose confidence when they're constantly getting moved?
I mean, Monty's just trying to get us going, so obviously it doesn't work. So the mixing lines needs to happen. So I'm personally, I have no problem with it. I can read off anybody, but it's just. I said right now it's not about the combination. We are not good enough as a team, and
They have no answers, and they're doing everything they think they can to right the ship. But from my eyes, they have a lot more issues than just coaching, as my comments section has already called for the firing of Montgomery. Pasternak after the game said he had no issue with the constant change, and he's right. They're professionals, and they shouldn't. But they look like they have no rhythm, and so far, all I see is change. So maybe let's just do the opposite. Be consistent and don't break up the fourth line, because when the sum of its parts is not on the same line, they don't look good, unfortunately. I'm not going to go on a rant about should they or shouldn't they fire Montgomery, because I feel that would be a lengthy conversation. There is no doubt in my mind that he is on the hot seat, and whether that's fair or not, I'll let you decide. The fact of the matter is the NHL coaches have a shelf life, and they'll be the first one fired most of the time. It shouldn't be the case. The players were assembled by Don and Cam to be the big, bad Bruins, and I will say, this is more Cam than Don. The decision to let DeBrusk and Heinen go and signs the door off has Cam's fingerprints all over them. Imagine we lived in a world where Cam Neely wasn't living in the past because the game has passed him by. This Bruins team has little to no speed, and at least Florida had some of that last year and played the right way. This is why they beat the Bruins in the playoffs, not because they were tougher. Yes, this Bruins team is probably built more for the playoffs, but you need to get there first. And at this rate, it isn't going to happen. I wouldn't think if they lose their next game against Philly that Montgomery will even be making the road trip to Toronto. If they do pull the trigger, it'll be Don's last bullet. And frankly, I feel Cam's last bullet. Cam seems to skate on all criticism and shouldn't, frankly. He needs to be accountable at some point. Montgomery can only work with the roster he's been provided. And right now, that roster isn't good enough. And it's getting walked over by almost every team in the league. There is time to come back from all of this. And the Bruins team isn't as bad as they look. But they have looked really bad. Hopefully things turn around soon, but I want to hear from you. What do you think the root of all the Boston Bruins issues this season is? That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks surrounding the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you, and I'll see you next time.